Welcome to my YouTube channel. Hit the like button, share your thoughts, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. The laugh that changed everything, the laugh echoed through the dining room, sharp, mocking, far too loud for a place this upscale. Conversations died, glasses paused halfway to lips, every head turned. You seriously think this is that kind of place? The waiter scoffed, waving the menu like it was toilet paper. Sir, we don't do substitutions. This isn't a food truck. The man sitting across from him didn't respond. Early 40s, maybe late 30s, it was hard to tell under the shadow of the plain grey hoodie. A faded baseball cap sat low over his eyes. His posture was relaxed, but there was something deliberate about his stillness, controlled to everyone else. He looked like someone who'd walked into the wrong place, maybe looking for a burger and fries. Not caviar risotto and truffle foam. But it wasn't the hoodie or the quiet that made people uneasy. It was the look in his eyes. He wasn't embarrassed. He wasn't flustered. He was watching, measuring. The waiter, Brad, according to his flashy gold name tag, seemed to miss that detail entirely. Honestly, Brad continued with a theatrical sigh, this place has a dress code for a reason. You can't just roll in off the street like you're. He looked the man up and down. Homeless. Still, the man said nothing. Not even a blink. Brad gave a smug little smile, satisfied with his performance, and strutted off toward the kitchen. I'll bring you ... water tap, since that's probably all you can afford. There was a soft scrape of a chair nearby. A middle-aged couple near the window had stopped eating. The woman looked uncomfortable, whispering something to her husband. At the hostess stand, Dana, the restaurant's manager, pretended to scroll through the reservation list. Her eyes flicked toward Brad, then toward the man in the hoodie. She didn't intervene. She never did. Brad brought in big tips on weekends, and she hadn't seen the owner in over 8 months. Not her circus, not her monkeys. Still, something about the customer felt strange. Familiar, maybe. He hadn't touched the menu, hadn't pulled out a phone. He wasn't checking the time or looking around for someone. He was just sitting there like he was waiting for something. Or someone. **** 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Eventually Brad returned, dramatically slapping a chipped plate onto the table. One dry breadstick rested on a napkin beside a glass of lukewarm tap water. No soup. No salad. House rules, Brad said with a little shrug. Don't like it. Yelps that way. The man slowly looked up, and for the first time he spoke. I wasn't asking for substitutions. Brad blinked. Then what was all that about? I asked if the chef could prepare the halibut without the butter sauce. I have a dairy allergy. Brad rolled his eyes. You should have said that. I did. Twice. Brad gave a short laugh and turned away again. Right, of course you did. But as he turned, the man said something else. Calm, crisp. There's a reason I came here today. Brad froze mid-step, turned slightly. Yeah, to make a scene. Or to scam a free meal. The man didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a crack-screen phone. He typed something quickly, too quickly, and then slipped it back into his hood. Then he stood up, no coat, no bag, no fanfare. He walked calmly past the other diners, past the open kitchen window, past Dana. Brad's voice chased after him. What? You're just leaving? No tip, huh? The man paused, turned. I'll be back, he said, eyes locked on Brad. Next time, I'll wear a suit and bring a lawyer. Brad let out a loud, mocking laugh. Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? Sue me over a breadstick? The man smiled faintly. No, just watch. And with that, he walked out into the night. ***, 36 hours later. The restaurant didn't open. A note on the glass door read, closed for emergency staff meeting. Brad showed up late, sunglasses on, venti coffee in hand, only to find 3 sleek black sedans in the parking lot, and one man standing at the entrance, not in a hoodie, this time a navy suit. Crisp, tailored, silver cut, clean-shaven, standing tall, arms crossed, eyes unreadable. Brad nearly dropped his coffee. Double quotes. Wait. It's you. The man nodded once. Brad chuckled awkwardly. Okay, listen. If this is about the other night, man, it is. Look, I was just messing around. I didn't know who you were. That's the point, the man said quietly. He handed Brad a document. Brad unfolded it, frowning. His eyes scanned the header, Kitchen Vine Group Holdings, LLC, Ownership Transfer Agreement. underneath, new managing partner, Mr. Elias Grant. Brad's jaw hung open. You own this place. I do now, Elias said. But why? Why this dump? Why me? Elias stepped closer. This was the first restaurant I ever got thrown out of, he said, years ago. Just like that night. Same attitude, same fake smile. You reminded me. Brad's hands were shaking. Listen, I didn't mean anything by it, but you did. And not just to me. Elias looked toward the staff gathering behind the glass. I've read the reviews. I've heard the complaints. You don't serve people, Brad. You serve yourself. Elias turned to Dana. You stay. You work hard. Then back to Brad. You're done. Brad's voice cracked. You can't fire me. I own the floor you're standing on. Elias didn't wait for a reply. He turned and walked through the doors of the restaurant he now owned, leaving Brad outside, jobless, stunned, and silenced. The table in the corner, the door to the restaurant swung shut behind Elias Grant with a soft, final click. Inside, the air was different. Tighter. Brad's absence left a strange vacuum, the kind you notice when a storm passes and silence feels too loud. The kitchen staff stood frozen, eyes darting between Elias and Dana, not sure what came next. Dana, to her credit, was the first to speak. You own this place now. Elias nodded. As of this morning, are you here to shut it down? No, he said simply. I'm here to save it from itself. Asterisk. 20 minutes later, the staff gathered in the back room. Elias stood at the center, near the wine fridge that had never worked right. He didn't raise his voice, didn't lecture, he just spoke. I'm not here to be your enemy, he began. But I won't tolerate poison in a place that serves people food. Some of the younger waiters exchanged glances. No one asked what he meant by poison. They knew. Elias's voice was calm but sharp. You've seen the reviews, the declining covers. You've heard Brad talk to customers. Maybe you said nothing because you didn't want to get involved. Maybe you thought this place would never change. He paused, then added, I used to think that too. Dana leaned forward slightly. You've been here before, haven't you? Elias looked at her for a long moment. Yes, once. 7 years ago. There was a rustle in the room, surprised whispers, curious eyes. He gestured toward the hallway. Let me show you something. Asterisk. They followed him out to the dining floor. Afternoon sunlight filtered through the front windows, casting soft shadows over the empty tables. Elias walked to a corner booth near the back, unassuming, half hidden behind a support beam. He stood there silently for a moment. This was the table, he said. The table? Dana asked. The one where I sat 7 years ago, right here. No one moved. I had just lost my job. My startup tanked. I'd poured everything I had into it. My father had died 3 weeks earlier. My mother was in the hospital, refusing treatment. And my wife, he stopped, jaw tightening. She left. No, she stayed. But we weren't okay. She begged me to take a night off. We came here. His eyes were glassy now, distant. The waiter that night laughed when I asked if I could split a plate. My card declined. The table next to us snickered. My wife cried in the car the whole way home. I swore I'd never let anyone make her feel that small again. The staff was silent now, shameful. Some looked away. I built something after that, quietly, took every failure and used it like bricks. The same month this restaurant almost went under during COVID. I bought shares, quietly, through holding companies, 3 layers deep. He turned to face them fully. I didn't just come back to fire a rude waiter. I came back to rebuild the place that broke me. Asterisk. Later that night, Elias sat alone at the same table in the corner. The restaurant had closed early at his request. Staff gone, lights dimmed. A single candle flickered on the table. In his hand was a small leather notebook. Frayed edges, pages yellowed with time. Inside were handwritten notes, goals, budgets, dreams, scribbled in ink that had faded. In the corner of the front page, one line stood out. One day, I'll sit here again, but it'll be mine. A soft knock at the door interrupted him. Dana peeked her head in. You okay? Elias nodded. She stepped inside slowly. I didn't know about any of that. I never expected you to. Brad was out of line.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the only one. There's a rot here, Elias. A culture of looking the other way. Everyone was just trying to survive. I don't blame them, Elias said. I just want better. Dana sat across from him, folding her hands. So what now? You fix the menu, fire a few more jerks, hope it all turns around. He leaned back. I'm going to do more than that. She tilted her head. What do you mean? I'm going to make this the kind of place where the next me, the man who walks in wearing a hoodie because he can't afford a jacket, gets treated like a human being, even if he's broke, even if he's nobody. Dana looked at him for a long time. That's a big promise. I've kept bigger. She started to rise, but stopped herself. There's something you should know. Ilyas's eyes narrowed. What? Brad wasn't just rude. He had access to the safe. Inventory's been off for months. We didn't know how, but now I wonder. Ilyas straightened. Are you saying he was stealing? Not just food and liquor, I think. He was moving product out the back door. Drugs. Dana didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Ilyas closed the notebook and stood slowly. He thought I came for revenge, he murmured, but now I think I came back just in time. Asterisk. Back at his car, Ilyas sat behind the wheel, staring at the building. He had come for closure, but now he had questions. About Brad, about who let this all happen, about what else had been buried in that restaurant's walls, and deep down, something told him the past he thought he'd escaped was far from finished, because someone else still remembered him, and they were watching. The hidden ledger. The following morning, Ilyas arrived at the restaurant before sunrise. The city hadn't woken up yet, just distant street sweepers and the hum of delivery trucks. The restaurant stood there, still and silent, but it didn't feel like his yet, not really. It felt loaded, like a place that remembered. He unlocked the front door and stepped into the still dark dining room. The air was colder than usual, too cold for spring, and the floorboards under his feet creaked, just slightly more than they had yesterday. He flipped the lights on. Something was wrong. The chairs were just as they'd left them, the register untouched, no broken windows, no signs of forced entry. But the office door was open, and Ilyas knew he'd locked it. Asterisk. He stepped cautiously toward it, his hand instinctively brushing against the pocket where he'd slipped a small folding knife, a habit he'd kept since the early days, back when bad deals went down in worse places. The door creaked slightly as he pushed it wider. Inside, drawers had been rifled through. Papers were scattered across the desk, and the small black notebook, the one Dana had pulled from the back safe the night before, was gone. That notebook had been the first clue. Old invoices, strange supplier names, unaccounted shipments. Brad hadn't just skimmed tips, he had run a quiet operation right under management's nose. Now it was gone. Ilyas's heart thudded once, low and heavy, not out of fear but clarity. Someone else knew, someone who hadn't wanted that notebook found. Asterisk. Later that morning, Dana arrived with 2 cappuccinos and a look of dread on her face. They took it, Ilyas said, not even looking up from the security screen. Brad, or someone he worked for. Dana set the coffees down gently. I didn't sleep last night. I didn't either. Then we need to talk. He turned toward her slowly. She hesitated, then said, there's something I didn't tell you about Brad. Go on. He wasn't just stealing. He was meeting someone every Tuesday night, after close. I caught him once in the alley behind the dumpster, handing off a cooler. Ilyas's jaw clenched. Who was he meeting? I don't know. I never saw the guy's face. Just a black car, tinted windows, didn't look local. You didn't think to report it. I wanted to, but Brad, he made it clear. If I said a word, I'd lose more than just my job. Ilyas's mind was moving faster now. This wasn't just bad management. This was organized. Asterisk. That night, Ilyas waited alone in the alley behind the restaurant. He wore dark jeans, a cap, and kept his car engine off. No lights, just silence and shadow. If the Tuesday night drop was real, he wanted to see it with his own eyes. And sure enough, at exactly 10:48 p.m., a sleek black SUV pulled in behind the dumpster, engine low, headlights off. The window cracked just slightly, and someone stepped out. It wasn't Brad. It was someone Ilyas hadn't seen in over a decade. Tall, thin, leather jacket, cigarette already lit between sharp fingers. Leo Callahan, once a minor player. In Ilyas's early tech days, a coder with a gambling addiction and a taste for shortcuts. The kind of man who smiled at you while planning to burn you down. Back then, Leo had stolen from their company, embezzled 20 grand in crypto and vanished overnight. Now he was back, and walking straight into Elias's world. Asterisk. Elias stayed hidden. Heart. THUDDING. Leo opened the dumpster lid, reached in and lifted out a waterproof duffel bag from beneath the false bottom. Dana had told him about cash or something worse. Then Leo looked around sharply, like he felt something. For a second, their eyes met. Elias didn't move, didn't breathe. Leo narrowed his eyes. Then he smirked, just a flicker, and drove off. Asterisk. The next day. Elias didn't tell Dana what he'd seen, not yet. Instead, he made one call to a man he hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Marcus, Elias said when the line picked up. Elias, came the cautious reply. Damn, thought you were dead. I need a favor. Marcus sighed. It's always a favor with you. This one's serious. I need you to pull surveillance on a guy named Leo Callahan. You remember him, of course. The crypto rat. He's back, working something behind my restaurant. Marcus was silent for a beat. That's a name I hoped never to hear again. Same here, but I saw him with my own eyes. I'll run him. But Elias, if Leo's back, he's not alone. What do you mean? He didn't just vanish all those years ago. He owed someone big, before he disappeared. Rumor was, he got bought out, protected by the kind of people who make you disappear if you ask too many questions. Elias leaned forward, like a syndicate. Exactly. So whatever's happening in your alley isn't just side cash. It's a pipeline. And if you're standing in the middle of it now, I'm a problem. Elias finished quietly. Yes, Marcus said. And problems like you tend to vanish. Asterisk. That night, Elias returned to the restaurant and found a single envelope tucked under the front door. No stamp, no name, just his initials, EG, scrawled across the front in red ink. He opened it. Inside was a photo. It was grainy, taken from an alley angle, but unmistakable. It was Elias, crouched in the shadows, staring toward the dumpster. Watching. Underneath the photo, a message was typed in block letters. You saw too much. Walk away. He folded the paper slowly, hands trembling, not from fear, but fury. They knew who he was. They knew he knew. And that meant this was just the beginning. The man behind the smoky Elias sat alone in the back of the restaurant, the threatening photo still on the table in front of him. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. The shadows outside were longer now, streetlights flickering on in the early dusk. He hadn't told Dana. Not yet. He didn't know who he could trust, because if someone had gotten that close enough to photograph him, to slide an envelope beneath his locked door, then this went deeper than Brad or Leo. This was planned, watched, protected. His phone buzzed once. A message from Marcus. Leo is connected to someone named Victor Drellick. Imports business in name only. Suspected laundering front. D flagged him in 2022, but couldn't make charges stick. Be careful. This guy doesn't just make problems disappear, he buys them. Elias stared at the name. Victor Drellick. That wasn't a name from his past. That was something new, and it changed everything. Asterisk. The next morning, Dana found Elias in the office, red-eyed and focused. I've never seen you look like that, she said gently, setting a sandwich down near him. Like you've already lost something. Elias didn't look up. You ever wonder what makes a man go back into a burning building? Dana blinked. Sure. People do crazy things under pressure. They go back in, he said quietly, when they remember someone else is still inside. She frowned, taking a step closer. You're not just here to fix this place, are you? Elias finally looked at her. I thought I was, but now, I don't know anymore. Dana lowered her voice. Is it Leo? Elias nodded. He's working for a man named Victor Drellick, and that name doesn't come cheap. Dana's eyes widened. Wait, the guy the news said got caught smuggling millions through a tomato shipping company. The same. What does he want with a failing restaurant? Elias leaned forward. He doesn't want the restaurant. He wants the tunnel beneath it. Dana blinked. What tunnel? There's an old prohibition cellar beneath the wine room. It was sealed decades ago, but according to the original blueprints, it connects to an underground corridor that runs beneath 3 city blocks. No one pays attention to it now. It's off the books. But it's the perfect passage for moving anything without being seen. Dana was speechless. And Brad knew. Brad managed the back room. Of course he knew. I think Leo reopened the route and started using it again. Quietly. Weekly runs. Just enough to stay under radar. But now you've seen them. And now, Elias said, I've made myself a threat. That night, Elias returned to the restaurant alone again. He walked past the kitchen, down the back hallway, and pulled up the section of floor Dana had shown him weeks ago, the one with a rusted lock and a chain that didn't match the others. He pried it open. A staircase, narrow and stone-lined, led down into the dark. The air was thick with mildew and silence. He stepped carefully, flashlight in hand. He followed the narrow hallway until it opened into a small, cold cellar walls, lined with crumbling brick, ancient shelving, and a damp, dust-covered table. In the center sat another duffel bag, unzipped, full of cash, and beneath it a silver pistol. He froze, then heard it, footsteps. Not behind him, above him, fast, purposeful. He killed the flashlight and pressed into the shadows just as a voice called out, Elias. Dana. She crept halfway down the steps. Elias, are you down here? He hesitated. What are you doing here? I followed you. I thought you might do something reckless. I am doing something reckless, he said, stepping out of the darkness slowly. But then, as he raised the flashlight to illuminate the bag again, he caught it, a flicker, not from Dana's face but from her hands, blue latex gloves, and a small blinking transmitter in her palm. What's that? Dana froze. I asked you a question. She took a shaky breath. I didn't have a choice. Elias, tell me what you're doing, he demanded. I had debts, she said, voice cracking. Years ago, I borrowed from someone I shouldn't have. I thought I paid it off, but they came back. Said I could square it if I worked for them here. His stomach dropped. You're working for Victor. I didn't know it was him at first. It was just Brad. And then Leo came, and everything changed. Elias stared at her. So what was your job? Spy on me, or deliver me? She looked at the floor. And then Elias understood. It was you, he whispered. You're the one who left the photo. Dana's eyes welled. I told them you wouldn't stop. They said if I didn't warn you, they'd make an example of someone like who? Dana hesitated. Your wife, Elias. His heart seized. What? She's alive, Elias. They found her. He staggered back a step. No, that's impossible. Dana stepped toward him slowly. She's not dead. She faked it. Years ago, after the miscarriage. After the breakdown. You thought she was gone because that's what she wanted. But Victor found her, and now, she's part of this too. The flashlight slipped from Elias's hand, clattering to the floor. Why? He asked, barely breathing. Dana's voice trembled. Because, Elias, she's the one who brought Victor here. The woman in the smoke. Elias didn't remember stumbling back up the stone steps. He didn't remember the hallway, the lock, or the door slamming behind him. He only remembered Dana's voice repeating in his mind like a curse. She's alive, and she brought Victor here. His wife, Isla, gone 7 years. A funeral, a tombstone, endless nights, screaming into a pillow trying to make peace with the silence that never answered back. He'd believed she was dead. Everyone had. And now, she was the architect behind everything. The tunnel, the laundering, the betrayal. No, it didn't make sense. Elias gripped the edge of the prep table, his knuckles white. A wave of nausea rolled through him, followed by rage. If she was alive, then what had he mourned all these years? If she had abandoned him, worse why? And if she was with Victor, who had he buried? He drove to Marcus's warehouse at midnight. The moment he walked in, Marcus knew something was wrong. He looked like hell. She's alive, Ilya said. Marcus blinked. Who? Isla. For the first time, the street-hardened tech informant looked afraid. That's not possible. She faked her death. Dana told me everything. Victor didn't just use her, he recruited her. She's in this. Marcus exhaled hard, walking toward a steel cabinet and opening it with a passcode. You want answers? I want the truth. You're not going to like it. I've already lost everything. Just give it to me. Marcus pulled out a manila folder. 2 years ago, a woman using an alias Lena Dovik filed business accounts tied to Drellick Holdings. Same handwriting as Illa's medical records. I ran it once, flagged it, but couldn't prove it, so I buried it. Elias opened the file with trembling hands. There it was, a photo. Her face was partly shadowed, hair darker, but it was her. Ela. Alive, standing next to Victor Drellick at a luxury port gala in Malta. Arm. Smiling. Asterisk. She came to me once, Marcus said quietly, before she disappeared. She asked how easy it was to make someone vanish. Elias looked up sharply. She said she was tired of grieving. That grief had become performance. She said ... You loved her too much. She said that. Elias whispered. Marcus nodded. She didn't want a savior, Elias. She wanted an escape. Elias's throat tightened, but she was pregnant. Marcus hesitated. She lost the baby. But not because of the accident like you thought. Elias stared. She ended it. Elias stepped back like he'd been punched in the chest. No, she wouldn't. She did. She told the hospital to say it was spontaneous. Said she couldn't handle being a mother. The floor tilted beneath him. She left you before she physically left you, Marcus said. You were just too blinded by love to see it. **** The next day, Elias sat in the restaurant's wine cellar again, staring at the stone walls like they could give him answers. He didn't hear the footsteps until someone said his name softly. Elias. He turned and there she was. Isla. Older, sharper, dressed in all black, her hair cut to her chin, no longer the soft waves he'd remembered brushing out of her face when she cried. His breath caught. I didn't think you'd come, he said. She stepped into the light. I wanted you to stop digging, but now, here we are. You're alive, he said, voice shaking. She nodded once. You lied. You let me bury you. I needed to disappear, she said calmly. I needed out. You could have said something, written a letter, anything. I tried, she said, but you were too much, too perfect. You would have followed me, saved me. You always tried to fix things, Elias, but I wasn't broken. I was done. He stared, the fire in his chest rising. I mourned you every day, he said, and you were building an empire with a smuggler. She didn't flinch. You think Victor owns me? She asked. He answers to me, Elias. I'm the one who made the books balance. I'm the one who saw this tunnel and turned it into gold. You became the very thing we fought to stay away from. I became free. You destroyed people. This isn't freedom. It's rot. It's violence and fear. Her eyes flickered. Then walk away, she said. Take your name off the lease. The restaurant can die again. I'll pay you $10 million and no one ever needs to know the truth. He looked at her like she was a stranger. Then he stepped closer. I don't want your money. What do you want? He leaned in to burn this entire empire to the ground. Her eyes narrowed. That would make you a very short-lived man. I'd rather die a man with nothing than live as a coward in your shadow. Isla stepped back, wounded. But Elias didn't stop. You faked your death. You aborted our child. You made me think I lost both of you. And you didn't even flinch. I did what I had to. No, you did what you wanted to. Because you were scared. Because you hated being loved. She opened her mouth then stopped. For a second, the old Isla was there. The one who used to sleep pressed into his chest like she couldn't survive. The night without his heartbeat next to hers. But that woman was dead. **** that night. Elias returned to Marcus. We're going to blow this open, he said. Publicly, all of it. Files, accounts, the tunnel, everything. Marcus hesitated. You sure? Once this starts, there's no going back. Drelik's reach is long. Elias smiled bitterly. I want them to come after me. Why? So, they'll all be in one place. Marcus stared. And understood. You want to bait them? Elias nodded. I want a trap, and I want it loud. **** at dawn. Elias placed a single ad in the city's most read digital newsletter. Under a lifestyle section titled, A Forgotten Cellar Beneath the City's Favorite Restaurant. Rumor has it there's more than just wine beneath this historic eatery. Sources say certain routes underground are still in use and not for drinks. Stay tuned. No names. Just enough to draw eyes and blood. By nightfall, he received a call from an unlisted number. He answered. A deep voice, familiar and cold. You're making mistakes. Elias smiled. I'm making history. The last course. The restaurant buzzed like any other Friday night. Tables full, candles flickering, laughter echoing under the soft jazz. But beneath the dining floor, a war was waiting to begin. Elias stood in the prep kitchen, straightening his sleeves in front of the smudged mirror. His reflection stared back, eyes harder, heart heavier, but more alive than it had been in years. Tonight was the trap, and everyone was invited. He stepped out into the dining room like nothing was wrong, greeting guests with the warmth they expected from the new silent owner. But the cameras were already rolling, hidden lenses placed in the wine cellar, the tunnel, even the office where Dana now sat nervously watching monitors. Marcus had coordinated everything. A single button press would send a live feed directly to law enforcement, financial crimes, and to major journalists who'd agreed to watch from a private stream. Elias took one last deep breath and waited. Asterisk. At 8:46 p.m., Leo walked in, flanked by two unfamiliar men. They weren't here for dinner. One held a silver briefcase, the other a firearm under his jacket. Elias nodded from across the room, signaling them toward the back hallway. Leo glanced around, cautious, then led them through the hidden door Elias had unlocked an hour earlier, down to the tunnel. Just as planned, he texted Marcus, "They're in. Signal ready." Seconds later, a black car pulled up outside, and Isla stepped out, hair pulled back tight, eyes unreadable. She wore a tailored navy coat over a dark dress, heels clicking like the ticking of a bomb. She entered the restaurant like she still owned it, like no time had passed. Elias met her at the edge of the bar. "You always did love a dramatic entrance," he said. She smirked faintly. "You always did love an ambush. You're early. I wanted to see you fall in real time." Elias tilted his head. "You came all this way just to gloat." "No," she said coldly. "I came to make sure you die quietly." Asterisk below them, Leo opened the briefcase. Stacks of marked cash, pre-counted, flagged with tracking dust. Marcus watched from the monitor, waiting. "Now," Elias whispered under his breath. Marcus hit the signal. Every feed went live. Dozens of eyes now watched the transaction. Faces, accounts, tunnels, all of it exposed. Down below, the buyers froze as tiny red lights blinked to life. Leo's face paled. He realized too late they were being watched. Above, Isla's phone buzzed. She glanced at the alert on her screen, her confident mask cracking. "What did you do?" she asked sharply. Elias leaned in close. "I told the truth." Isla turned to leave, but the restaurant's front door burst open. Two federal agents entered, guns drawn, badges raised, hands where we can see them. Patrons screamed, diving under tables. Isla backed up fast, but Elias blocked her path. "This isn't how you end me," she hissed. "You don't get to win." "I don't need to win," Elias said. "I just needed to survive long enough to watch you lose." The next few hours were a blur of sirens, arrests, files being seized, money being logged, and officials swarming the building like hornets. Leo was taken down into the tunnel in handcuffs. The gunman resisted. He didn't leave walking, and she tried to claim diplomatic immunity under a false alias, but it didn't work. Not when the signed confession from Dana, now protected under whistleblower laws, was emailed directly to the agents 5 minutes before Isla's arrival. Took Isla away in silence. She didn't look back, and neither did Elias. A week later, the restaurant reopened under a new name, The Cellar's Light. No more tunnels. No more secrets. Just stories told over meals. In the open, Dana stayed on not because she had to, but because she chose to. Elias gave her a second chance, just like Marcus gave him one. One evening, just before closing, a woman approached the bar. Her hair was silver, her smile kind. "Are you the owner?" Elias nodded. "In a manner of speaking. I heard you took over this place after something terrible happened." He smiled faintly. "Something terrible, yes, but also something true." The woman tilted her head. "And what truth was that?" Elias looked around the room at the laughter, the food, the open doors. "That grief doesn't have to define us. That even betrayal can become fuel. And that sometimes," he said, voice softening, "losing everything is the only way to find who you really are." He never saw Isla again, but her shadow faded eventually, like all ghosts do. Not because he forgot her, but because he finally remembered himself. Final emotional closure and lesson. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find who you really are. The end.